Baden, Chris Baden in the house. How are you, Chris?
What's up, Azar? Good to see you, man.
Joining me in from nice, sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. Uh, Chris, welcome to the show. Chris is the co-founder of FlowChat. I met Chris recently and some of his clients at the Advanced SaaSpreneur by GHL in Dallas just this month. And there's lots of cool things that I'm hearing about FlowChat. And I wanted to have Chris on the show and figure out what all this hype is all about, and then also like really talk to the man behind your last two ventures. You're a serial entrepreneur. Your last two ventures have been SaaS businesses, and really want to kind of find out the man behind the FlowChat, and then talk a little FlowChat, and then get into questions that and the segments that Sam's got prepared for you.
Sounds awesome, man. Where should we start?
You want to just give us a little lay of the land, like who is Chris, and how did you come to found your latest venture, FlowChat?
Most people. So who is Chris? Most people that know me well know that I'm thinking about one of three things at any given moment throughout the day, and that's building a lifelong marriage, a world-impacting family, and a nine-figure tech company. In that order. So I've just celebrated 10 years of marriage last year. We have three kids now, 7, 6, and 3 at the time of this show. And we decided to homeschool because we're crazy. And I'm also an entrepreneur because I'm crazy. I'm sure people listening, watching, maybe if I know your audience based on what you said, Azar, can relate to some of this stuff. And in terms of starting a company, and going specifically down the software route, it was complete accident. I can code nothing. I know zero code. I'm a non-technical co-founder. So how did it happen? It was completely on accident. We can start I can share a short version of the story. It started in the hospital. I was what's that?
That's interesting. I said start in a hospital. Never thought that.
Yeah, I was starting to get ulcers. My heart wasn't beating normally; it was skipping beats, and I was like, "What's going on?" And now, granted, my second kid was being born at the time. I was staying up till 3, 4 in the morning every night working, and so I wasn't taking the best care of myself. And this is stressing my wife out even more. In my head, I'm great. Like this is just part of. I grew up. Playing sports, played sports all through college, got a Division I scholarship, and competed on American Ninja Warrior for 3 seasons. So it's like this performance culture. That's normal life to me. Oh, but I'm tired or I hurt. It's like, oh, wow, like nobody cares. Like get the job done. And so, this is more my head. So, but as I'm feeling and thinking these things, I'm sharing this openly. I'm sure other people can relate and connect to this. I'm looking at the doctor, in the eyes, and the blood work came back great. And he's like, "You're stressed." And I'm like, "Stressed? Like, doc, no, I'm not," as like my eyes twitching. And so I began to realize like, man, like I can't do this alone. I can't do this alone. I feel overwhelmed. My body is telling on me. I'm burning out. Is affecting my relationships. And so I at that point, I was like, I can keep pushing. I can keep going down this path, but it's going to be far too expensive. It's going to take me further than I want to go, and it's going to cost me more than I want to pay. And so I started making some adjustments, i.e. sleep and hydrating and going to the bathroom and eating, the essentials. And that affected my stress. So if we fast forward to today, I'm processing way more than I was at that moment, with way more peace and joy and connection to the project that I'm currently doing. And so I think first thing I always want people to know, like if they're going through seasons like that, like you're not alone. And it is super hard, but you can build skills. You can, more importantly, put systems in place that absolutely change your quality of life. And that's how I got into SaaS. And rather than when someone bought, me stay up till 3, 4 in the morning and execute on the 42 things that had to take place for every time someone bought, there's software for this. There's a system. I was like, what? This is we ended up finding a development house in Australia, of all places, and we work out a deal. Everything's bootstrapped. I don't come from money, or I didn't cut big checks to just like start all this stuff. I had to negotiate deals and value, and so I got that done. And I'll never forget the night, Azar and Sam, like, someone bought, and then it just all happened, and I did nothing, and I went to bed, and I was like, life is possible. Like, this is amazing. And so as I went through this, I was like, oh, this is software as a service. This is SaaS. I didn't know what this was. Now, as this was growing, we ended up exiting that business end of 19. I didn't understand multiples, and I didn't understand EBITDA and expansion revenue, like all these different things. And I was like, oh crap, like it was a blessing. It was profitable. Like it definitely affected our life in a positive way, which is great. Grateful for that. But I basically gave it away. I did not understand my value. So this is a little bit of my background, my story. I love connecting with other founders, other CEOs, other agency owners, business owners, because what I have learned through very expensive tuition fees and trips to the hospital, as I was sharing, is the value of team, the value of systems, how to execute on these things, and not only increase sales, but increase the value of the business, the greatest asset that you listening, watching are actually building, that is generational, it's life-changing. And as it has been for me. So these are some of the things that I'm passionate about.
That's awesome, man. So how did you, you exited your last SaaS business, and that's a great story where I feel a lot of us can relate to that. I've been there, man. And like where you just have to shut down that laptop and like, I can't take it anymore. This is like the early days of RepStack starting out. And I'm used to just like a one person marketing agency for the last 12, 13 years, and all of a sudden we're hiring people left, right, and center, and it's just like crazy, right? Like this is like not even 20 people at this time I'm talking about. And I'm just like, I just have to slam my laptop shut and get out of there, get a workout in, because like extremely stressed out at that time.
Yeah.
But exactly what you said, right? Like you start surrounding yourself with the right people who can come in and start building. And I'm very much like you. I'm a very non-technical person. And so we need to surround ourselves with the right people, but those right people have to be the right type of people as well. So we'll get into people a little bit. Sam's got a question prepared for that, but tell me a little bit about FlowChat, and like, how did you guys come up with this, and what is FlowChat?
Yeah, so FlowChat is a sales tool. It's lead generation, and we do it organically through social media. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, X, TikTok, like all the major ones. There's 13 currently. We're adding our fourth here soon, which is looking like it's going to be Reddit next. But all this being said, there's this pattern. There's a ton of attention on social media. Per the Nielsen report, people are logging in on average 12 times a day. They're spending on average over 5 hours a day on social media. So it's like, while they're busy ignoring our emails, our text messages, and they're probably like going to the bathroom, to be a little bit crude but realistic, they're scrolling social. And like, I was like, how is this the reality of today's business? Like,
it is.
But
it is.
what's hilarious is like, and this isn't just consumers. These are co-founders, entrepreneurs. Like, I'll be, presenting in a room full of entrepreneurs. They're like, oh, not me. I never watch Netflix, blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool. That's great. Pull out your phone. What's your screen time say? And they pull it up. They're like, oh my God, 4.5 hours. It's like, I'm not making this up, man. Like, I follow the numbers. Now, for me personally, I really, like, between us, like, I don't like social media. Like, it's not it's not Friday night. I'm like, oh, the kids are down. Like, yo, babe, we got some extra time. Like, let's scroll through our feed. This is gonna be so much fun. She goes through and like watches all the shorts. I swear it scrambles my brain. I'm like, how do you watch that? I'm angry right now. Like, anyway, so I'm more of like a YouTube guy, and I just like pick out, like, I don't know, the different forms, CEO interviews. I'm a nerd. All right.
Yeah.
But all this being said, because I'm always learning and acquiring certain skills that I want for whatever project I'm focused on. So all this being said, why am I doing it? Because number one, as an entrepreneur and a marketer, this is what the market's doing. This is the story the data is saying. So I was like, all right, I need to learn to communicate this way and speak this language. And so we solved our own problem. As we were starting FlowChat, we're like, well, we probably should just like use FlowChat to sell
Mm,
FlowChat, right? Crazy
mm,
thought. And it wasn't called FlowChat in the beginning. So we were just like outreach. We had a Google Doc and a spreadsheet. We're like doing these manual systems and outreach, trying to track everything. What does this look like? This looks like going into a Facebook group and doing a 2-step post or a value post. And then the people that are commenting or liking, following up with them, fortunes in the follow up. So you got to
mm,
manually like click and then respond and then send a message and then chat and then book a call. Like all that takes a ton of freaking time. Now we did over 6 figures in sales our first month. But it was a hustle. Like we're doing it all of the time. Most people aren't going to do that or can't. So
mm,
all this being said, it started us on this journey of like, how do we just like get this down to clicking a couple buttons and then these
mm.
tasks being automated and operate.
Yeah.
And that's where FlowChat is today. So on
Wow.
average, people that are spending, call it 15, 20 hours a week, we can reduce that down to about 3 hours a week.
Nice.
And instead of, if they're booking maybe like 40 to 50 qualified calls per month, they can still maintain that output and sometimes even double that because they're doing the same pattern on multiple social media platforms. Uh,
Hmm.
Me as a consumer, because we're still a consumer of FlowChat, we use it every day, our team internally and all the automations. Um, I was like, I don't want to find a different piece of tech for every social media platform.
Hmm.
Number one, Facebook profile, it's hard to find one, right? But then you got to get one for Instagram. Then there's a million on LinkedIn. And then how do you protect your social asset? You don't want to abuse like the terms and conditions. How do
Hmm.
you talk to people, right? We're talking
Hmm.
outbound, but there's ways to do inbound flows too, where people just come to you and then you can respond to them in a way. So we totally went down this rabbit hole. Flow chat is lead generation. It's organic lead generation. It's on social media, and we provide automations to build and nurture, like know, like, and trust, to book calls or send people to your VSL or send people to your webinar. Some people even use it to recruit talent or raise capital or find strategic partners to do JV deals with. So that's just a little bit about flowchat.com.
Very, very interesting, man. I know we're looking at it ourselves to set up some campaigns and things like that. So very interesting to find out everything about FlowChat, flowchat.com. You can book a demo there.
Yeah.
And I think, Sam, let's get started with 3 more questions for Chris. Let's put him in the hot seat.
Yeah, let's go.
I think Sam's.
Yes, absolutely. Let's do that. Thank you so much, Azim. So let's get started with the first one. Are you ready, Chris? Should I shoot out the first question for you?
Ready as I'm going to be. Let's do it, Sam.
All right. So since it is your fourth startup, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs looking to build successful SaaS companies in 2024?
Hmm. Um, the best advice that I can give is just what I've done. That's what I can speak to. I'm not saying this is the best for you listening or watching, but this is what I did and what worked for me, and consider it. So that all being said, serve people for free. See, like, can you solve their problem? Business is a systematic way of delivering a product or service. I talked through this with my 7 and my 6-year-old. They have their own businesses. And I was like, there's one way, there's 2 ways that you can do this. You can solve people's problems and they give you money, and you solve their problem either with a product or with a service. And that's it. So which one do you have? And if you're starting something, you don't need, you like, everyone's like, oh, I need to raise money. I need money. It's like for most businesses, you don't. You want to hear a crazy story? Richard Branson. He started a lot of businesses. Do you want to know how he started his airline? British Airways. or Virgin. Sorry,
Or
that was his competitor,
Virgin,
Virgin
Virgin, yeah.
Airlines. Yeah. All right, I just want to make sure everyone's listening. Virgin Air. You know how he started it? He didn't start it with raising capital or any of his capital out of pocket. He actually bugged the heck out of Boeing and said, "Hey, like, do you have any airplanes just sitting around that you'll lease to me?" And they, of course, ignored him. And he kept calling, and he's like, and finally the operator's like, "All right, I'm going to send you to someone that properly get rid of you." And he finally gets a meeting. I'm giving you the short version of this. He finally gets a meeting, but it's super interesting, very valuable for bootstrap founders to hear, because he's one of the best entrepreneurs. Like, let's learn from the best. And so he ends up getting a call, and he's like, "Hey, so you're in the UK. British Airways has the market on this, so it's like I'm not open to this at all." He's like, "Okay, but like let's just say you have one sitting around," and he talks through it with him. He finally gets the deal. And now this is a very important detail. He gets a yes. He gets access to his first plane for an airline company. What happens? Now he got the yes. He can start going selling the seats. Do people pay when the day they fly, or do they pay on the spot?
Yeah, they
Interesting.
pay like a month back, right? Early
They
on.
pay
Yeah.
when they book the flight. So
Yeah.
he went and sold the seats and sold rate. That's the market, and the customers paid him the capital. And then he worked out the cash flow, like when he was going to pay the lease payment of the plane, which I don't know. I forget how much. It was maybe like 200 million or so. I don't, whatever the amount was. But it was less than the cash that he was able to collect for the first month. And then he did the
Mm.
flight, and then he did it again and again and again and again. Now he paid the pilot, he paid for the fuel and all the things, but he started an airline without any capital. But he
That's
did have
crazy.
intelligence. It is crazy, and I think more founders need to hear this. We sat where no, this is different. It was the event that I was at before SaaSpreneur, where we connected. We're listening to these other founders, and they're like, "Well, okay, what's your biggest need?" "Oh, I need money. I need capital." It was driving me crazy. I was like, "No, you
Yeah,
don't. What
that's
problem are you
crazy,
solving?"
man.
Ah,
I
like,
just I just had this dinner party at my home, and this amazing young kid, I think like 2 or 3 years out of his university, and he's taking the path less beaten, but like he's doing the startup, something with the pharmacies. Really, like to me, look like it can be something that can be done on GHL, and and a few other things. But he's like, our model is that we want to do the fundraising, and then I'm like, where's the revenue, where's the traction, where's like all of that stuff, right? Like that's what the entrepreneurial hustle is all about. Not that you're going to waste, I hope it's not being wasted, but you're going to put in 2 or 3 years of your prime time when you should be making money, and putting it on a project and just waiting for an investor. Who's going to invest in you if you don't have a viable product, or no customers, no sales, nothing like that, right? So like you can't like build a business that the business is going to be fundraising. You got to have traction, and these things are just going to come. But and then just on Branson, like it doesn't he run like 200 companies
oh gosh,
simultaneously,
yeah.
something like
Fast
that?
forward oh my god, he has hundreds of companies and billions of dollars, and
Yeah.
but he's at the core of him. He is a visionary. He is a entrepreneur through and through. And what we all can take from this is, do not punt on sales. Don't kick
Mm.
it down. Don't kick it down the field.
And that's the
Start with
thing that I'm
sales.
finding with these guys, right? Like they're waiting for the money and stuff like that, but all they really have to do is start selling.
Yeah, and hey, let's flip industry. Let's go to ecom. I need Chris. I need capital for product.
Hmm.
Like, how am I supposed? People are gonna great pre-order. What does Apple
Hmm.
do? Right? Like when they pitch at WWDC, they're like, hey, you can pre-order starting on this date, or you can pre-order today. It ships in November, later in the
Hmm.
year. They're
Yeah.
already collect now. Granted, they have their systems. They're one of the friggin' royalty, but watch their launch pattern. Do you think Do you think they've been doing this? Apple has been doing this for over a decade, and they mismanage supply and demand year after year and have lines stacked outside of Apple stores? No, my friend, that is
Yeah.
called choreography. That is all designed. That is a marketing campaign for the news outlets and everyone else to take pictures and feel the FOMO that they're not going to get their thing unless they go stand in line. You will not ever if you ever see me in an Apple line, something is wildly wrong. You should call 911 immediately. Like, I'm just not going to. I understand the marketing and I understand the campaign right now. So as us as bootstrap entrepreneurs just starting, don't punt on sales. If you're ecom, do pre-orders. Hey, you get to be. Normally, we're selling it for $100 an item, $1,000 an item, right? But pre-orders, you can get a 30% discount. Sign up today, pay half today, pay the rest when it's actually delivered. And it's not just for capital infusion, it's also to see if anybody cares. Oh, that would be amazing. Go make it, spend all the money, and then I'll buy it. Until they vote with their credit or debit card, they actually don't mean yes. The check's got to clear, right? That is the actual, like, I'm excited. Please let me be a part of this. Please let me do the thing, right? So, you can feel some passion in my voice. But look, software companies are not cheap. So how do you do it with software, Chris? I started, you know what software I used? I used Google. I used a Google Doc and a spreadsheet, and I proved out the sales pattern, and I just did the thing manually. And then I built out terrible wireframes in like Canva or Miro. Like, I like those programs. And so I could kind of see like, oh, I want the button to go there. And like, what if it went like that? And then here was the flow. All that's free. And so, anyway, we can be frugal. We can bring product idea to market, and then you can start being profitable day one.
Great tips, man.
Yeah,
Great
absolutely.
tips.
Just great advice. So, Chris, the second question for you: what sets FlowChat apart from other chat systems?
Yeah. Well, so from like just like really tactically and logically thinking, there's not another piece of tech that are on all the platforms. And I know that because I wanted that. And I was like, now I got to get all these different programs. I got to put them all together. I got to train my team, build all these different SOPs. I was like, that is a disaster nightmare. Don't want to do it. That's one really big challenge. We're bringing automations to all these tasks on these different platforms. There's many tools on LinkedIn, and there's other pieces of tech that tie into the API for Instagram or even X. We are not tied into the API, so that allows us a whole different rich feature set that benefits people's workflows and automations that they need. And you can connect a ton of profiles. Well, Chris, I've got people on my team, they've got like 5 profiles. This is the last bullet point I'll share here. Most pieces of tech, you have to log into the tech using your social media profile. And then you pay for another seat when you have to use another one. I was like, as a user, as a consumer, I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's cool. I don't like that. So FlowChat, whatever social media account you're logged into, is automatically what ties into FlowChat. It's not connected to your account, your social media account. And it adds separate. There's not. I've yet to see another piece of tech that's doing it that way. And they usually don't, because they want to hit you per
Yeah,
seat.
that sounds super smart.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
So
sounds super
those are two just
amazing.
like tactical,
All right,
like
let's talk a bit more
yeah.
about.
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah,
Sam's got a bit of a
please go
lag
ahead.
here, so we're working through with that. Go ahead, Sam.
All right, so let's talk more about your team now. So, Chris, what's the current size of your team, and how does the hierarchy chart look like?
Yes. So current team size is 14 full-time employees. A team size is interesting. Usually it's like, oh, I've got 100, I've got 200 team members. I know, Azar, you're racking them up over there like crazy, and but I feel like there's this new, like, wait a minute, like, we should be at like a gajillion dollars with only 2 employees. Like that's like the cool, ego hit nowadays, it seems like. Yeah, we're at 14 full-time employees. If we want to oversimplify department, obviously we're software. So we have our developers, our senior, junior, and then like mid and then junior developers. And then we have support, and we have sales and marketing. They're kind of lumped together at this point. So those are kind of like the three main departments. There's three co-founders in FlowChat, and each are kind of CTO over dev, CMO over sales marketing, and then I've been mostly over ops. So that's kind of the breakdown.
That's interesting, man. And so in terms of your team setup, so one of your co-founders is still doing sales, I'm taking it, or managing it somehow, because a lot of it is automated, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so we're FlowChat, the tool itself is lead gen, like more top of funnel, and we have VAs that are finding the data, like the profiles on social media, and qualifying the data. We have like our 4Qs method. It's a set of 4 yes or no questions that get you hyper focused, on exactly who your ideal customer profile is, your ICP. And then they hand that off to our setters. And then our setters are nurturing, having conversation, following up. And then once that matures into a demo, then it goes to our closing team. So our co-founder, CMO, Sean, and he was also my partner in the first software company. He'll jump in and take calls. He's doing a lot more calls as of recently for a couple different campaigns and reasons, but we have a team in place to handle the calls as well.
So you guys that's pretty awesome. So you guys are basically sales and marketing, and it's kind of like using your own system to generate all this interest and buzz and stuff. And it's the perfect mix of everything, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, just to share some numbers, like so we're about 3 years into the project, about 2.5 years, or just shy of 2.5 years. We did over 3 million in sales. That's 0 paid ads. It's just literally using FlowChat to grow FlowChat. Most of our sales process was just outreach to Facebook group to demo. There was our sales process, and we just did that consistently every day, over and over and over and over again.
And I think that ties into what you just said to your last question about advice to the entrepreneurs. And now I'm seeing this pattern that, serve for free. And a lot of this the system that you have, I'm guessing, like when you're doing outreach in the Facebook group, a lot of it has to be built on serving and, giving out nuggets of information and helping people and things like that. Am I correct?
100% is the way I like to say it is, when you do the real work, you remove all the guesswork. And so Sean and myself both personally took over 1,000 one-on-one Zoom calls in the first 7 months of FlowChat. So that's averaging about 7.3 sales calls a day, 5 days a week. I learned, I didn't do the weekend thing, married, kids. I'm like, I already went down that path. So if you, just over 7 months, if you're averaging 7.3 calls a day, you'll get over 1,000. And we're doing, 10 plus calls a day, but not all those are sales demo calls. So it's just, man, like some people like, oh, you're in Vegas. I was like, no, I live in Zoom, but I reside in Vegas, is what it feels like. And that's, that's the work, in my opinion. That's the market research. Eventually people would say things like, this is like exactly what I was thinking and what I've wanted, but I didn't know how to say it. Or it's like you're reading my mind. I'm like, well, I've talked to like 700 of you so far. So, it's like, I did the real work. I asked the questions, and there was no guesswork. I knew because I asked. Every entrepreneur listening to this, your next breakthrough is not in your head. It's not that epiphany that hits you while you're in the shower, right? The answer is actually in the mind of your market. And if you never go talk to them, they'll never respond to you and never tell you. And it's doing that pattern over and over and continuing it to grow. Again, to reference Apple, Tim Cook, his first thing that he does in his morning routine is go through customer emails. He's like, I got to stay connected to some level to the consumer. I need to understand their mind and what they're asking, what they're thinking. Even the best of the best, that's what they do.
Love it. Love it. Sam, over to you. Last question.
Yep. For all the questions, we are done with the 3 questions, and then now we're moving on to our next segment, which is going to be 3 more ideas. So, Chris, the first one for you, you're going to like it. It's American Ninja Warrior.
Nice. So you told me how to respond. I already forgot. When you say American
Yeah,
Ninja
we
Warrior,
want to do
first thought that hits your mind. Yeah, listen, American Ninja Warrior. Yeah.
Branding. Branding is the first thought when with American Ninja Warrior. Is this like lightning round, or do you want me to expand on that?
Yeah, just slightly. We have 30 seconds.
Okay, so branding. So when I competed on American Ninja Warrior for a few seasons, like I got to watch it expand into NBC, picking it up and grow. And what I noticed was this: it actually started as Ninja Warrior in Japan. Then America was like, "That's cool. Let's do our brand." And then when American Ninja Warrior is going, then the ninjas started creating their own brands, like the influencers of it, like the RV Ninja and the Natty Ninja and the this ninja and the that ninja. And then all of the followers had like the t-shirt would show up to the qualifier or the finals. And I watched, the punchline is this: are you currently building a culture and an audience and a movement where people have enough space to find their own identity within your community? And so how I applied that was within FlowChat. You can call it FlowChat. You can call it whatever you want. We white label. So people have enough space to leverage our tech and bless and serve other businesses under our brand or their brand. We have enough room and vision for them to grow their identity within our community.
Yeah. All right. Got it. Love it. So the next idea I got from LinkedIn, it's work-life balance.
Work-life balance is the thing I need to riff on. Super important is the first thought.
Yeah, I think with your story, I think we get the picture that you've kind of had to reprioritize it. Just a little touch up on that one more time, Chris.
Yeah, what I would say is that it's important, and done well, it doesn't compromise performance; it enhances it. The thing isn't I work less and I am less and I accomplish less. It's here is what I require and need as a human. How do I respect that and ask myself, how do I do equal or double output with only this amount of time and energy? And when you ask your brain that question, you'll get a much quality answer. And you're like, why the hell did I wait so long to do it this way?
Love it. I can't resist myself, Sam. There's this story about Richard Branson in Dan Martell's latest book, Buy Back Your Time, where he talks about how he runs his 200 companies by just working for like 2.5 hours a day with his executive assistant. That's all he does, right? And that's his day. He's going to sit down and go through for an hour or so, 2 hours with his executive assistant. And that's usually his day. That's how he's running his 200. Like if you think work-life balance would be going crazy when you're managing at Richard Branson's level or, my little 6-figure agency, then, you do the math, right? Like who's doing it right?
Yeah, it's such a perfect example. And mentioning Dan Martell sharing that story, very powerful. When going to his event, SaaS Academy event, he wasn't even running it. He was a guest speaker. He wasn't even keynote. He was the guest speaker at his own event, which made me respect him. I was like, this is absolutely the guy I want to learn from right now, because he's married, spending time with his kids. He's doing those things, obviously learning from Richard Branson as you're describing, and the whole team's doing everything. He just shows up for an hour, does his Q&A, and it goes about his way. So I'm like, that's more the path that I see, for myself. And it's not because I want to do less and get more. It's my goal is to build a lifelong marriage, a world impacting family, and a 9-figure tech company in that order. That is my goal. And so I needed to evaluate my path.
Love it. Sam, you got one more for us?
Super amazing. Yeah, I totally do. So this third one I picked up from your website and it sounded like super interesting to me. It's called social selling. So some more light on
Mm.
that.
Yeah, so social media and selling on social media is kind of the short punchline. And here's something that's so valuable. I talk about. I feel like till I'm blue in the face. Just if you treat other people the way that you want to be treated, it solves like 98% of the problems or more, right? So more specifically, what does that mean? If you look at some of the messages, DMs that people send people, do this exercise. Take the messages that you receive or the one that you wrote out or you've been sending to people and like print it out or like look at it on your phone. Walk up to a stranger in real life and read that introductory message. And if you can't even bear the thought of having to say that to another human face to face, it might be a good indication that you want to rework that copy.
Yeah,
Do you want to know our highest converting initial message?
of course. Love that.
Here is the marketing mastery, the sales wizardry that everyone covets, and desires, right? It's a compliment. It's no tactic. It's no framework. It's no let me gotcha type, it's just a compliment. Like when you first meet somebody, people work with people they like. And if there's something genuine that you notice, just let them know. Like there's so much negative stuff that comes, call out and speak out and honor somebody with a positive. And it turns out people like that. And you'll get a 20% response rate or higher per the numbers. So
Love it.
Like,
social selling.
all
Love
right,
it.
sounds yeah, wonderful.
Awesome.
I think we're all set here. Chris, thanks for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. I love what you're doing with FlowChat. I think this is amazing nuggets over here. Compliment the next person you're trying to sell on social media, and let's see how that goes. Your vision is amazing. Starting out with your marriage and your family, and then building an impactful business. Like this is what all of us have. We dream of doing stuff like this, but you're the person we can now look forward to and seeing that you're actually making it happen right in front of us, already building out FlowChat to multiple seven figures, and you're well on your way towards your goal of getting to those nine figures. We'll be in touch, and thanks a lot for coming out and doing this today, Chris. Really appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate you for having me and for all